Hello again, race fans and esports enthusiasts everywhere from the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida. It's time for the Atlanta Motorcar Club and Storage GT3 Cup. This is round 4 of the 4th season in the Atlanta Motorsports Park eSeries. Tonight, 40 minutes in the Daytona International Speedway road course, that 3.56-mile road course that these cars will be running. And after a week off, I think they're going to be itching to get after each other, and they've been running practice. I think we're into qualifying now, about a minute into qualifying with this 3.56-mile road course running at night. This will be our first night race, and with that, I'll bring in my sidekick, producer-director, Will Rigdon. Will, night racing, what about it?
Well, we're excited to be running underneath the lights here at Daytona International Speedway. Our drivers are normally used to nice sunny days with good weather and warm temperatures for those tires to stick to the asphalt. With the temperatures dropping in-game here tonight, it'll be interesting to see how strategies play out. Keep in mind we are still requiring that one pit stop with a 4-tire change during the middle of the race, so that will definitely play into things here with the weather, or with the temperature dropping because of the nighttime. So I don't know about you, Bill, but I am excited for this one. The drivers should be familiar with this track. This is the 3rd time we have run it in an AMP eSeries. So I know they've got some laps underneath their belt, so we should see some good, clean racing here tonight. And with that, we also have Dion Fiello back on grid tonight. He's been absent the past couple weeks, as well as Ryan Flannery will be joining us again here tonight. So expect to see some action here at the front of the pack. I know SquareX had a easy time with it the past couple weeks, being that Ryan and Dion were not in it to give him a run for his money. But this week we've got them, and always not to be left out is Brant Estes. Although currently right now, although nobody set a time yet, so we don't see where he's running, but in practice he was doing pretty well. So it really could be a toss-up in the top 5 here tonight, Bill.
All right, so again, we are now 3 minutes into qualifying, of 3 minutes of the 10. Laps here take around 2:15 or so. What were the times on that? Yeah, I believe that's right. These take a little bit longer. It's almost it's a little over 3.5 miles around, but it's a lot of it's very flat. There's a huge bank portion, of course. The road course that has the infield section, and then they emerge from the infield section and get up on that banking and take the bulk of the speedway around before hitting what's called the bus stop, which is a chicane at the exit of the back straightaway into the ovals. Turn 3, kind of slow them down so they don't go slamming into those banks. But it requires a bit of skill to get through that little adjustment in speed. Get on the binders, get through the bus stop, and get back up to speed, because you still got turns 3 and 4 to power through, and the tri-oval, before you drop back down and get into that infield section. 4 minutes into qualifying. So far, the first time posted, Zach Holden sits on top with a 1:45.24. Okay, I knew it was 15 something or other. It's 1:45. These laps are around a 1 3/4 minutes. Dion Fiallo currently sitting second, Michael Day third, and Shuma Onobogu will be fourth. Of course, he just got displaced, and Matt Lassiter bolts to the top of the leaderboard. He's currently in the provisional pole, but we still, again, have better than 5 minutes to go here in qualifying. So while we have a moment or two, I'd like to tell you about our title sponsor. Atlanta Motorcar Club and Storage is located in Cumming, Georgia. While car storage is their backbone, creating an exciting and unique experience for car enthusiasts is their passion. Combining unparalleled collector car storage with an active calendar full of social events, parties, organized driving events, and other activities is what they do best. Cars are showcased in their highly secure, climate-controlled storage gallery featuring larger-than-life artwork, diamond-polished flooring, and engineered lighting systems designed to highlight the beauty of their members' cars. They offer white glove services with easy and convenient access to stored cars. Check out their website at www.atlantamotorcar.com and schedule a tour.
And Atlanta Motorcar Club was nice enough to sponsor our season-end party this year. So we have a lot of fun for the guys planned with that because they've got their full motion iRacing rigs. So that's kind of what inspired us to go after them to let us host the party there. So it'll be fun to take all these guys at the end of the season, do a little time trial in a full motion SimCraft rig.
That's right. Well, Matt Lassiter's time at the top of the grid was short-lived, as he's been surpassed by 4 other drivers, the usual suspects. Dion Fiallo is now your provisional pole sitter at $1:43 for his last lap. Don Squirrick, then Brant Estes and Michael Day. But good for Matt there.
Yeah, I think Don must have had a 2-off during his first flyer out there because he didn't set a time right away. And with these qualifying laps, if you do more than 2 off, then it won't count the time. So you've got to run it. It's got to be fast.
Off of the pavement.
Yeah, it's got to be fast and it's got to be clean for it to count.
Fast and clean is the way around.
Although that's typically how we run our race series up at AMP. I mean, if you do anything more than 2 off, it's a penalty. So.
Yeah. So you're currently looking at Don Squirrick, the winner of the past 2 races here in the eSeries, the AMP eSeries. Curious as to how he'll square off against Dion Fiallo. Of course, Brant Estes is going to be your wild card in this as well. And there's who are sitting top 3, Fiallo, Squirrick, and Estes in that order. Michael Day's looking pretty sharp, though. He is back about, his speed's off about just 2/10. So this is pretty close.
Let's see if we get these point standings up here real quick.
Yep.
For some reason, they are not wanting to play nicely with me today. There we go. So after the first 3 weeks, like we were saying earlier with Flannery and Fiallo having to sit out because of technical issues, that kind of put them out of the running for the championship, which has put Don Squirrick square in the driver's seat right now for the lead. He is 4 points ahead of Brant Estes. Although Estes is a very consistent finisher, he's taken 3 top 3 so far this season. He's yet to grab a victory, but that has kept him square in contention, and as you can see, he's in the 2nd position. And then Zach Holden, who is always a strong runner, typically ends up with some kind of bad luck at some point, has managed to run a consistent season so far, so I'm excited to see him doing well. And with Ryan and Dion further back in the pack, that gives him some breathing room to hopefully nab himself a podium position in season 4 here of the eSeries. And then as you can see the rest of the way down the list, we've got Matt Lassiter in the 4th position, Matthew Carroll in the 5th, and Peter Hutchings in the 6th. And pretty much from there, that is where your action is going to be. That 3rd place through 6th place is where you're going to see a lot of fighting going on, because these guys have been back and forth every week in this season. Don and Brant have been pretty consistent, but it's been a toss-up for everybody else below that. So be looking for some action this race, and then obviously it's just going to set up the drama going into week 5 and week 6. The drivers all agreed before the race today that we are going to go ahead and cut week 7, so they decided they didn't want to race on December 23rd. So that means we just got tonight and 2 more races to determine the winner of season 4.
And a great season has been. We've seen kind of the ultra-competitive races, then we've seen some runaways. So it remains to be seen what tonight's race will entail. But I'm thinking, given that everybody's settling into these cars better and better each week, we should see a pretty competitive race tonight, especially among our top 4 or 5. Jake Browning has found his way into the 3rd position now.
And he is a new name. We haven't seen him yet this season, so
yep,
interesting
pole
to see.
Speed for Dion is 1:43.60, and just 3 100ths behind him is Squirrick. So they're practically dead even on their pole speed, and then another 8 100ths back is Browning. So this ought to be good. If pole speeds are anything, or qualifying speeds are any indication, this should be good.
Well, one of the things I am excited to hear tonight to see already is Brant Estes has set himself a pretty good time if y'all recall, those that watch us at home recall the first 3 weeks, he decided to start in the back and work his way up. Although through no fault of his own, usually either a technical difficulty or just not being able to log in time, because he's typically running in the door right as these races fire up. So he's got to take the trash out, cook dinner, put the kids to sleep before he can hop on the computer. And so fortunately today he was able to get home in good order and get logged on for the start of this. So he won't have to fight his way up the field. And it looks like we'll be in the 4th position here on the outside of the 2nd row when we start this race.
All righty, so with that, the checkers fall on the pole qualifying for tonight's 40-minute race here at Daytona International Speedway. Still have a couple of cars still on the course, 3 actually. We're looking at
this is Tevin Capwell.
David Capwell at the moment. He's crossing the line. Then coming up next will be Corbin Mitchell.
And that's actually David Capwell's son that's racing under his account right now.
Right.
So that's Tevin.
Sorry about that.
We'll eventually get it right, maybe by season 5.
We'll get it right. That's right. It's Ryan Capwell, right? And then no.
It's Tevin.
No, Tevin. Oh man, why can't I make those mistakes off air? Capwell, and then Ryan Flannery actually was he just crossed the line, and then we've got who is S. McGuire? That's another new one. He's sitting.
That's
Stephen
actually
McGuire,
no, that's Stephen. No, he's been with us the past couple of races.
Okay.
He's the one that's racing. He's probably trying to turn off the motion right now because he's one of the guys over at Atlanta Motorcar Club and Storage.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he races on their full motion rig each week, although he usually turns the motion off because 40 minutes in one of those things, you've got to be a glutton for punishment if you want that. So but he takes advantage of the nice triple screen rig and the force feedback wheel and pedals.
VR is the way to go, man. I keep telling you all that, but nobody seems to believe in VR. It'd be interesting to take a poll as to how many of these competitors are running VR.
I know there's a couple of them, although I've always thought it'd be fun to have a webcam set up on a couple of the drivers that do VR so we can do some live look-ins during the race.
That's the one thing I don't want to see is what I look like when I have
but that's what all the viewers at home want to see. So that's
no, man. I mean, racing is not so bad, but doing things like I don't know, Beat Saber or any of that stuff where you actually get up and move around the room, you look like a complete moron. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We're getting gridded up, getting ready to get this one underway. They will cue it up, I guess, on the back straightaway. Pace car will bring them down, and then we will get the 40 minutes here at Daytona underway momentarily. We are halfway through the allotted grid period. They're given about 2 minutes to get get their cars ready, get those seat belts cinched up, make sure that wheel is snapped onto the stalk, and get ready to go here.
We've got a decent-sized field here tonight. 15 cars is not bad for our first week back after break.
And plenty of room here at Daytona. At least there's plenty of passing room and room to maneuver. So we'll see how this works out while we're waiting for the rest of the cars to grid. Let's look at this. If you are an iRacing enthusiast, like we are, and would like to join the AMP community of online racers, join our Discord server, linked in the description of this video. AMP hosts community racing nights every Monday and Friday from 7 to 9 p.m., and it's open for anyone to join. Information for both the eSeries and community nights can be found on the Discord server. All right, so it looks like we about got everybody lined up. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 cars are sitting there in the grid. And at any point, here we go, the Porsche pace car leads the field on their partial formation lap, and they will come around and take the green. They'll enter through the bus stop and come through 3 and 4 down to the tri-oval, take the green. We should see this Porsche pace car duck onto pit road, and we will have action momentarily. Your pole sitter again, Dion Fiallo. Outside pole, Don Squirrick. Row 2, Jake Browning, Brand Estes. Row 3, Ryan Flannery and Michael Day. Row 4, Matt Lassiter and Zach Holden. Then comes Michael Green and Chuma Onobogu in row 5. Row 6, Mitchell Bright and Tevin Capwell. Then come David Sintel, Corbin Mitchell, and bringing up the rear will be Stephen McGuire.
One of these days, I'm going to remember to have the grid logo up when you actually are reading it.
Oh, I was reading the timing. Of course, they were passing each other on, inching forward and back, and so I don't know if I got it in the right order, but you get the idea. The usual suspects, and here we come. Pace car is off, coming down to the line. Will we get the green this time by? Yes, green flag is out. Green, we're underway. And
already some contact.
Dion Fiallo will take the lead going into the infield section, followed by Don Squirick. Behind him is Jake Browning and then Brant Estes. Yeah, a little bit of
looked like Michael Green
scuffling going on.
Potentially, or no, that was the guy in front of him. That was Lucky Strikes. That was, I believe that was Matt Lassiter. Although I don't want to miscall any action there.
Oh, there's some action right there, in fact. As got a little bit crazy going through the turn and got it turned around.
That was Chuma Onobogu.
Yeah, Chuma got a little high in the corner and overcorrected. He ended up getting clipped and spun as he was entering into the infield section. So we're going to get out and back onto the high banks for the first time tonight. Under speed, your leader Dion Fiallo, already opening up a 0.6 of a second gap. Back to second place, Don Squirick.
And there's some more action in the back with Matt Lassiter, and it looks like Mitchell Bright might have been involved with that as well. Let's see if we can go look at that on the replay.
Here they go, going through those S's going to the first turn.
It looks like he just got a little too hot on it coming
out.
He
just lost it coming out of the coming onto the banking. Now there is a transition there. You have to be careful, especially as low slung as these cars are, to get up above that double yellow line. That's where the banking begins, and you're coming off of a flat portion, and if you catch it at too severe an angle, it can upset the car if you're going too fast.
Well, if you're in a low gear and you're trying to accelerate out,
I know in a cup car on this track, you definitely don't want to go from the banking to the flat, because that will definitely kick out the back end. And I'm sure that transition is something that you have to maneuver very carefully as we're looking at.
And Squirick here almost got into the back of Dion there.
Browning, yeah.
Well, he almost got into the back of Dion going into turn 1, which set up that pass by Jake Browning, although Don wasn't going to let that be and quickly just got back around him.
To your top three, Fiallo, Squirick, and Browning. Running through the infield portion now.
And Dion is very familiar with this track. He was our Season 1 champion. Always a quick runner here at the Daytona Road Course. And I don't see him letting up anytime soon here tonight, Bill.
Nope, as now is still maintaining that 0.6 of a second lead over now Squirick, with Browning right behind, about another 0.3 behind him, as he's starting to spread out just a little bit. But given the drafting characteristics of these cars and the high speed banking on this course, you can make up some ground with the draft once you get up on the high speed section of this Daytona International Speedway road course.
And there's some action heating up back here, Bill, for the for the fourth position, I should say. We got a friendly battle between Friend Motorsports companions Zach Holden and Michael Day.
Yep, Michael Day looking, speaking of the draft, he looks to slingshot coming into the tri-oval and overtakes, gets that to fourth position, away from, and then gives
just
it right
as soon
back.
You got a little excited there.
My sentence there, yeah.
Well, that's a very hard turn to gauge there, Bill, because that's the highest speed you're going to hit on the track is coming into turn 1. And so unless you're very quick on those brakes and know your brake markers exactly, that's probably going to be one of the hardest turns for these drivers to be consistent on all night.
Holden and Day back in fourth and fifth again. But yeah, this track is an example of extremes because you're going very quickly through those high banks. Oh, we've got a Brand Estes on pit road already.
Look good. Let's see what happened here. It looks like he got turned around. I didn't see a crash indicator, so let's see if we can back this up and see what happened.
He definitely got his bodywork bent up, or his wing. So,
well, he was already bent up before then. Look at that. He must have gotten into somebody. Oh shoot! Yeah, I totally missed that. So that was actually his second incident, and that was him getting into David Sintel right there. Let's see if we can see what set that up earlier.
Yeah, you mess up those aerodynamic elements, and the car just will not handle. Of course, he got down into Sintel, and then
so if we go back a little further, because there was some kind of contact must have happened. My game's not showing me. See if, or my sim, I should say, is not showing me. I'll make you guys watch this all in reverse here. I cannot see what happened there.
All right.
Well, I guess we'll just need to.
It may be that that's just an artifact of the sim. It could have been that's just what happened, and it just remains in
Brant is having to wait on that tow
replay.
And we are not going to have any cautions to save him here tonight, so that is going to be very detrimental for him.
And oh man, what a tough break for Brand Estes. He was one of our pre-race
Bill,
favorites.
I don't want to call it, but we were talking about it, and the curse of the commentator may have just reared its ugly head here tonight.
All right, so looking back at the top three, though, they seem like they've tightened up a bit because there's only 3/10 now from Fialo to Squirrick, and Browning is right there as well, another couple tenths behind them. So and the action is heating up here under the lights at Daytona International Speedway.
And I would expect to see these drivers relax out a little bit here, Bill, because we're 6 minutes into this race. The tires are starting to wear in. They've got to make it at least to the halfway point before we go in for pits. And it looks like Don making a move right now.
And there goes Don Squirrick, your new leader now, right before he got to the bus stop. So now we'll see, now that he's gotten around Dion, is Dion just playing possum here?
Well,
who's got what here? Of course, the dynamics changes as tires heat up and tires wear out.
Well, these last two races that we watched here, Bill, or not at Daytona, but our last two races in this eSeries, pit stops basically made the difference in the race. That strategy played off big, and that's what helped Don secure the wins in race 2 and race 3. Although race 3, he just drove the tires off that car. But race 2, it definitely, as we saw in dramatic fashion, he was able to get around. I believe that was Brant Estes, and get the win there in race 2.
So your top three, you can see there from the front chase view of Don Squirrick. You can see Fialo and Browning right behind him. And things can change when they get back up on the banking and get up to speed. That draft plays a huge role, as we saw when Squirrick was able to get around Fialo. We'll see if Dion Fialo can return the favor when they get back up on the banking here on this lap. We've completed 4 laps. We're working on the 5th lap now. 8 minutes into this race, another 32 minutes to go. So we're just barely underway here, and we've already had some action, good action and bad action. Unfortunately for Brant Estes, bad action, as he had to bring it in on the pit.
Let's see, yeah, he's
to bring
back
it in
on
after
track
popping
now.
the wall. I see Stephen McGuire is, though behind Brant. So did something happen to McGuire as well?
Possibly. I'm not seeing anything on my incident
He's down
report.
the lap as well. So
let's see if I can see what happened here. They did release an update today for the broadcasting software. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything on what happened to him, although it looks like he just left pit road. So he obviously stopping in to get a quick repair. And it looks like we've got really 3 races going on here, Bill. It looks like our top 3 have a pack going on. We have a good mid-pack here between Michael Day, Ryan Flannery, and Zach Holden. And then behind them, fighting for the 7th position, we have a good group of 4 drivers right here between Corbin Mitchell, Mitchell Bright, and David Capel. I was just trying to read first names there.
Yeah,
Didn't work well for me.
That doesn't work this time apparently. So. Yeah.
And this is what we were hoping to see here tonight, Bill. We didn't want this to be a runaway for anybody. We obviously understand that there's different levels of skill amongst our field of drivers, but the biggest thing we look for when fielding drivers in this eSeries is that they race clean, they race competitively, and above all, they just, they have good sportsmanship, because if you don't, then you're out of the league pretty quickly. And that's what sets up some of these fun nights for us to call and to be able to watch racing.
Absolutely, and we do appreciate the effort and time that these drivers put in to get proficient at this. Now, we've seen that the bulk of these drivers seem to be a little more comfortable on the road courses because we don't see quite the chaos that we've been seeing on the ovals from last season. But this one's been fun to watch. The GT3 cars are pretty closely matched, and we've seen some really good racing among them. And speaking of good racing, we've been talking about, we're looking at Corbin Mitchell, number 25, a 4-car battle there, looking for 8th between Mitchell, Capwell, Chuma, and David Centel.
And Mitchell Bright was able to get around him.
Centel involved in that earlier incident with Brant Estes, but it looks like he's able to maintain contact at least with 8th position.
And if Corbin's not careful, Tevin's right on his tails. And then behind him is Brant Estes, although Estes is still a lap down, so it wouldn't cause a position change. But still never fun when you have the guy that's 3rd place in the point standings, or 2nd place, I should say, in the point standings, hot on your tail.
No, I would not say that. It definitely puts the pressure on you whenever you look in the rearview mirror and know that you've got the season at stake.
And we've had some more action up here at the front. Looks like Jake Browning has gotten around Don Squarick. See if we can watch that on the replay, see what happened here. And that looks like Squarick might have gone wide there. Actually, it looks like Dion passed him as well. So let's see if we can see what happened here. He must oh, that's what happened. He cooked the bus stop just a little too much, and I guarantee had a black flag penalty. He was.
Oh, sure. The nice thing about this sim is it does tell you how long you have to slow down to give back that.
That is painful to have happen, but if you go more than 2 off, you are serving a penalty.
Well, there it goes.
Or if it's 2 off, and it gives you an advantage.
But this will be interesting to see him, to see if he can work his way back around Browning and Fiallo again. He did it once before, and we'll see again. Again, we are now 12 minutes and 56 seconds. All right, 13 minutes, we'll say, into this 40-minute event here on this 3.5-mile Daytona International Speedway road course, home of the 24 Hours of Daytona, or actually the Rolex 24 they call it now, but I'm old school. We're looking at your leader, Dion Fiallo, now opening up a 0.2, I guess, 0.2, thereabouts, gap over Jake Browning. And not too much farther behind him is Don Squarick. There's Brant Estes with a new front end on the car.
Managed to get around Tevin Capwell. Has now got Corbin Mitchell in his sights, although he's still a lap down, so he has quite the ways to go. Don't think he's going to be able to get back around our leaders, but if he can run consistent enough, he could maybe shoot for a top 10, and that wouldn't hurt him too bad in the point standings. Although the way we are running things here, every position is a point. So, he would put another 8 points, 8 to 10 points between him and Squarick. If his
half of our question has been answered as Squarick is able to get around Browning and now he's sizing up Dion Fiallo again. But notice that even if Squirrel gets around him, he's not leaving them. So these cars are very evenly matched, and the aerodynamic component of their construction figures into this as well. It keeps them together as they get up on those high-speed portions up on the banking. But we'll see what Squirrel can do with Fiallo this time. The last time he was able to overtake him once they got back on the back straightaway and before they got to the bus stop. Can he do that again, and will that be the spot? He's closing in. You see him as they enter the corner. He's braking late. But here they go, back up into turn one now, the oval turn one. Will Squirrel be able to close in on Fiallo? Looks like he's keeping his distance at this point. But as they build speed up.
Well, let's see what happens here when they come into this turn one. Because this is really where...
Squirrel noticeably is closing the gap as they come out of two and down the backstretch.
I got lost on which bank we were in, which turn we were in.
This is 3 that we are in now, turn 3 of the tri-oval.
But this is what we saw earlier. As you see, he's gaining him. He obviously knows something about the bus stop that Dion doesn't, and he's gaining this speed. But watch, Dion's going to break a little soon here, and Squirrel's going to dive him. So actually, might not even need to do that. He was able to get around him on the front stretch.
Takes him in the tri-oval, and just before he has to hit his brakes, hit that braking point to go into the infield portion of this road course. And meanwhile, there is Jake Browning right behind watching the action. Best seat in the house to watch that pass by Don Squirrel over Dion Fiallo. But then watch this, that Fiallo is not going anywhere. He's staying right there behind him. And we haven't seen Squirrel stretch out the lead. Of course, his own mistake cost him 2 positions, but he's able to get those back. If he can keep it smooth, maybe we can see if he can open up. But so far, we haven't seen any distance materialize between these top 3 cars.
Well, with these sprint races on the road courses, Bill, there is very little room for mistake here. You know, we're not doing full course yellows this season. It's purely you got 40 minutes. Whoever does the most distance wins. And, you know, with how this season's going, you know, that's 40 minutes of concentration. You can't have one lapse or else that's pretty much can cost you the race. And so, you know, we've had a couple races where we've seen that play out big, and then we've had times like right now where when the drivers make a mistake, they're able to make it back up and it's not as detrimental. And as you can see, as they go through that bus stop, that's where we're going to see the black flags here tonight, because they're going to try and cut that corner as best they can to get the advantage coming into this long, high-speed section of the track.
That's true. The straighter you can make that corner, the more speed you can retain and carry into that turn, that high bank turn 3.
Well, that's what we saw in the last lap with Squirrel getting around Dion, is he just was able to take that bus stop faster, and that was all he needed to do. Very little effort to get around him through that high-speed section.
The momentum has a lot to do with it, and if you can get that run and get a long enough uninterrupted stretch of asphalt and get underneath, then you can make that pass, complete it, and improve your position.
And we've had a little bit of action back here in the mid-pack with Ryan Flannery getting around Michael Day to take the 4th position. Outbraking him here into turn number 1. I believe Michael Day finally got himself a wheel and pedals to use for racing here. His
good.
His first, well, he's got the hand controls on the wheel, I should say, but the first couple of seasons he was using an Xbox controller. And so, you know, I know that from experience is very hard to be competitive and not be a missile on track.
The purists do not want to hear that somebody's running against them using a controller. But if he performs okay, then there you go. I mean, I don't think I could do it.
Well, he is
Of
the
course, there's always the
founding.
holy war about whether you should be required to always have cockpit view when you drive as well. So, yeah.
Well, fortunately, iRacing does not allow you to do chased view or to do chase view while you're in the car driving.
Right. And rightfully so, in my humble but accurate opinion.
Well, we could just call it Grand Theft Auto mode if you put it into third-person view on the car.
All right, Don Squarick still looking to put some distance between himself and his nearest two competitors, but it just isn't happening. Dion Fiallo is staying right there, and Jake Browning not much farther behind that.
And it looks like Zach Holden now was able to get around Michael Day. Or, oh no, not, that was, oh no, that's Michael Green. He's running in the back. And it looks like he might have had to lift there momentarily for cutting that corner. Well, Bill, we are a minute past the halfway point right now, so we should start seeing pit strategies come into play here. It looks like a few of our drivers have already tried, or have already gone in. Looks like Michael Green, let's see, Mitchell Bright, David Sintel have all entered the pits, although your leader is staying out on track currently.
Well, given that we are at a primarily NASCAR track, I'm wondering if NASCAR strategy might figure into this. On a super speedway, normally it behooves the leaders to pit together so that they can maintain that aerodynamic advantage by drafting in and drafting out. Remains to be seen whether that will be the strategy that these guys use, although can't think of a reason not to want to pit together and stay together so that at least, the podium's going to be determined among these three. So everybody's got a podium position, but it's just a matter of who's on the highest one when the 40 minutes is up. Yep, 21 minutes, 22 minutes now coming in, 18 minutes left to go in this 40-minute event. Yeah, and as you said, more than halfway, we'll see who's going to blink first and duck onto pit road. But I have a feeling they're just watching Don to see what he's doing, because the longer he stays out, that's that much more tire you have towards the end of the race.
And they've managed to cut on almost 16-second gap over fourth place Ryan Flannery. So they've got a little bit of a cushion here to stay out a few laps longer than everybody else, just to guarantee they have the freshest tires by the end of the race.
So the
will not go in this time by.
Mitchell Bright is the leading car of the ones who have pitted so far. Let's put it that way. But still, so far, the ones who have not pitted are your top three: Squarick, Fiallo, and Browning. Then Ryan Flannery, Michael Day, Zach Holden, Corbin Mitchell, and Tevin Capwell. Just as I say that, Zach Holden ducks on the pit road he's in to get his service. And we'll see what kind of strategery these top three decide to employ. They can't go forever. They only start with half a tank, right?
I believe so, although that would be a question for race director Kevin Espinosa. I did not prep that in my notes to ask.
And there is Zach Holden in for his pit stop. Your top three still. This has been impressive so far. It's like they're waiting 39 minutes to make their move. We're going to see all kinds of action once we get to that last lap.
Well, the pressure's on.
That 39th minute is still another 16 minutes away.
Well, the pressure's going to be on Squarick to go in first. And if he doesn't go in this lap, I would assume see at least one of our top three is going to go ahead and make their move.
Well, the two behind him are actually saving on fuel by drafting him. You save a little bit there. Car in front is the one punching the hole in the air, and everybody else gets to ride along in the vacuum behind that car.
And they're not going to do it this time.
Nope, not this time.
And it looks like Tevin Capel made his pit stop.
So currently your top, oh, here comes Michael Day in. We'll only have 5 cars remaining that have not pitted. Top 3, of course, and then Flannery and Mitchell.
I don't know, maybe those McLarens are good on tires. That might be why they're staying out there longer.
Of course, Squirrel's the lone Audi in the field.
Are you thinking of? You're thinking of Estes.
No, I'm sorry. Beamer. Sorry, he's one of 2 Beamers in the field. Sorry about that. Yeah, we'd mentioned Audi, and I'm thinking Audi. I'm looking at the BMW logo for some reason, but we have 2 BMWs, 3 McLarens, a passel of Ferraris, at least 6 there.
Yeah, the Ferraris and the Benzes have been the popular choices, I believe, this
3
season.
3 Mercedes-Benzes. And a couple of BMWs and the lone Audi of Brant Estes. Now putting a lap on, who is that they're lapping?
Looks like Mitchell Bright.
Mitchell Bright, yep, all right. So
here
now here comes Squirrel. Here comes your leader on the pit road.
Ooh, let's see if they can get down to speeds.
Stays out,
that
though.
was close.
Yeah, boy.
That was real close. You saw how how much Browning actually gained on him decelerating into pit road.
Are you allowed to travel down pit road?
During
during
NASCAR season, we had said 2 pit stops. I'm not sure if that was clarified for this season or not.
Well, we can check the gap when these 2 get out, because here's your new leader, Dion Fiallo. He chose not to follow Square and Browning in.
And Flannery made his way in
and
well.
Remember last time we had a similar situation where the leaders were split on their pit stops, and it worked to the benefit of Square. He seems to know what he's doing there, but here comes...
Well, he's been the one to pit first, so he's always on hot tires when Dion's coming out on cold tires. Or whoever the current leader is on cold tires.
The conventional wisdom is that whoever gets the new tires will start to make time on the old tires once they heat up. So it would behoove Fiallo to get in the pit as quickly as possible. We'll see how that adds up.
By or not.
Is he just going to stay 1 additional lap out? 2? Let's find out as he enters into turns 3 and 4 of the oval. And he comes out. Here comes the pit entrance, and he will duck down on the pit road. So Dion Fiallo will follow suit, and he will be the final entrant to make his mandatory pit stop.
This will be where it gets interesting, because it looks like Browning was able to get out ahead of Squarick and has actually put a little bit of a gap on him. Almost looks like a little bit, about 2.5 seconds there between 2nd and 3rd place.
Races are won and lost in the pits, they say, and that's evident right now as Jake Browning he will assume the lead. Well, actually, he's the leader of those who are still on the track. It'll depend on how Fiallo's pit stop goes as to how he comes out.
Well, he's at that lead pit stall, so he doesn't have far to go once he gets dropped back on the ground.
But he picked up a couple seconds on Squarick. That's pretty impressive.
Well, you saw when they were coming into pit road, he gained almost 4 or 5 car lengths just outbraking him onto pit road.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the time on dropping on the pit road and getting off, trying to slow down as.
Let's see. You can see him. Here he comes. Here comes Dion.
Here we come. That's Fiallo on the pit exit,
and
here comes Browning. Fiallo looks to
just
he will
get out
be in the
ahead.
lead. We'll see how the tires work out. As Dion, remember, is on cold tires. Browning has a lap of heat built
But
into
this
his. But of
might
course,
work
don't forget
for, well,
Don Squirrick in third.
this might work into his
He shouldn't
advantage.
waste too much time catching up with the top two.
Well, because if Dion's able to block a little bit here on these cold tires, that might give Squirrick the opportunity to make up some of this gap.
Blocking is kind of difficult on Daytona once you get out of the infield. And here they come. They're going to come back up onto the banking as they go into turn one of the tri-oval. There's your leader, Dion Fiallo, and right behind him, that pair of headlights just off in the distance behind them is your third place runner, Don Squirrick. We'll keep an eye on the gap there. Currently, Squirrick is 3 seconds behind the leader and 3.1 and another 0.2 closer to second place Jake Browning. Browning's closing it in, reeling in Dion Fiallo as they come out of turn 4.
And you can really see that banking.
On board with Will's favorite camera, the gyro cam, heading into the tri-oval. Will he make a move here? Will he drop down? He looks to the outside, but they're going to have to hit the brakes and get into the infield portion.
It looks like he had a slight run on him, but had to lift there for a split second to avoid hitting Dion.
Fiallo got wide going into that corner and going through the S's there. Browning is able to take over. He pressured Fiallo just enough to make him go wide, got the opening, and Jake Browning is now your leader. Meanwhile, Don Squirrick is still a good 3 seconds off the lead, 2.6 off of second place.
Losing the help of the draft probably wasn't beneficial for him because that gap has opened up by about half a second.
Time will tell as we are 31 and a half minutes into this race, only 8.5 minutes to go. So it's getting down to the cases.
It's getting down
for
to
these drivers. It's currently become a 2-car race unless Don Squirrick can do something about it, although we've seen him repeatedly close up and pass these guys, but never from 2 seconds behind.
Ooh, and that might have been, hopefully that wasn't a penalty there. It looks like he got real close. I wish they could have like a directly top-down camera so I could see if those are going all the way off or not.
Well, you'll see whether he has to give time back, but I think he's just hitting that curb just right.
They are playing with fire every time they go through that bus stop.
So as they cross the line here, it's completing 18 laps. 18 laps and 32 and a half minutes now. For these cars and drivers here at the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway, and there is Dion Fiallo closing back in on Jake Browning, thinking about doing something, letting him know that he's back there. I think Jake already knows that he's back there, but as they're coming through the horseshoe, and we see Fiallo inching closer and closer to Browning. They come through that last corner that brings you back onto the high banks of the oval portion. And actually, Browning was able to open up a little bit, get a little bit of distance, but let's see what the draft does.
Yeah, because Dion's closing him right now, so he looks like he got a better run on him.
Coming through the bus stop now. Yeah, Dion definitely bringing up a little bit of dirt each time. Don Squirrick back 3.5 seconds. They seem to be leaving him as the race is now between the top two.
Yeah, it looks like most of our field's pretty much spread out. This is the only good battle we have going on right now, Bill. Although it's looking good for Ryan Flannery, currently sitting in 4th position all by himself, has a healthy 14-second lead over 5th place Zach Holden. Zach Holt doing the same. He's got about a 10-second gap over the 6th place of Michael Day. If
Well, let's
Holden,
look. Fialo was making a move to the outside. He wasn't able to pull it off. Just as we cut away, he was heading into the tri-oval. He was looking, but he's getting tighter and tighter. But of course, got a
like
little
Corbin
off-road
Mitchell,
excursion there. Yep. But the more the top two battle, the better that is for third.
well, right now, though, the real winner right now is going to be Zach Holden if this grid holds up, because he's got Brant Estes is all the way back in 13th position, so that means he would pick up, looks like 9 points on Estes. And then obviously with Squarick being in 3rd position, he's still going to pick up some points over Holden, but this will help Holden. This will pretty much make it a dead even heat between Holden and Estes going into next week for the 2nd place in the, on our podium.
We have less than 5 minutes to go now. About 4 minutes and 45 seconds to go here, which would be, what, 3 laps?
Yeah, I'd say give or take, Bill. It'll checker probably on that 3rd lap.
Right. So time now for these guys to settle it out, but however it is they got through that turn going back onto the banking, it looks like Fialo is running a little faster there as he left Jake Browning behind him. But as soon as I say that, Browning closes it in, looks high as they cross the start-finish line, exit that tri-oval, and get ready to get on the binders and enter into the infield portion of the course again. Meanwhile, looking back at Squarick, he's 4 seconds back in the lead now.
Yeah, he's doing his best.
Unless something drastic happens, we have probably seen the last of Squarick as far as contending for the win. But again, we've seen stuff happen. We've seen last lap fiascos. And meanwhile, Dion Fialo still keeping it in front of Jake Browning. Browning trying to see what he can do.
Dion just keeps making himself gradually wider and wider every lap. He is doing his best to not let Browning back around him.
Of course, Browning's gotten around him and Fialo's gotten back around him, so anything can happen here as we are working to complete lap number 21, about halfway through it. Cars back up on the banking, heading down that long back straightaway before they have to arrest their progress to get through the bus stop. And then bring it back up to enter into turns 3 and 4. It's a 3 to 4/10 second lead now for Dion Fialo over Jake Browning. Squarick is falling back another 3/10. 4th place will be Ryan Flannery, then Zach Holden, Michael Day, Mitchell Bright, Chuma Onabogu, Tevin Capwell, and then Michael Green will round out the top 10. But if you know a teenager who has recently received their driver's license and is looking to become an even safer driver, Drive Strong at Atlanta Motorsports Park is a great option. Courses maintain a 3-to-1 student-to-instructor ratio while taking advantage of AMP's world-class facilities to teach new drivers advanced skills that can't be taught anywhere else. Drive Strong accepts teenage drivers who at least have their learner's permit, as well as 20 hours of experience on the road. More information and class registration can be found at drivestrong.org. And Jake Browning driving very strong as he's still on the tail of your leader, Dion Fialo. We haven't seen the last of him either as they come back up onto the banking with a minute and a half left. So this will be the next to the last time. So they should.
White flag will be
were
out.
we to issue white flags, this will be the last lap once they cross the line. Because they have, a minute and a half. These laps are taking a minute 45. So absolutely through the bus stop here for the penultimate time. And I believe if Jake Browning's got anything, he's going to have to pull it out now because he's got one of each of these turns remaining.
Well, this will be interesting because they're coming up on
Fialo.
They're coming up on the last car on the lead lap, Michael Green here. Don't know if they're going to catch him or not by the end of this lap.
Will traffic be a factor? But look, the draft certainly is, as you see. Browning closing in. Is he going to make a move here going into the infield section? He thought about it, but he backed off.
Well, that McLaren has not been as fast as the BMW on the straightaways, Bill.
30 seconds left, so this is the last lap. This will be the last lap of this 40-minute race here. Looking at Browning losing a little bit of ground there to Fialo. Fialo definitely seems to have the edge through most of these corners in the infield section. Fialo in the McLaren, Browning in the BMW. Squirek in the BMW. He is another, closing on 5 seconds back now. On board with Jake Browning. His last chance as we are entering into turn 1 and 2 on the tri-oval. Maybe the bus stop, maybe 3 and 4. Can he get a run on Dion Fialo before Fialo gets to that tri-oval and that start-finish line through the bus stop? Taking as fast as he can back on the gas, and this is the last time he'll have to touch the brake, because here they go. This will be for the win. Jake Browning back by a good, 10 car lengths now. The gap back to him is 0.89 seconds.
And it looks like Dion got a better run than Jake through that bus stop, because the gap is opening right now.
And here they go, and your winner will be Dion Fialo. Second place will be Jake Browning. Meanwhile, Don Squirek will cross over in third place. Fourth will be Ryan Flannery. Fifth, Zach Holden. Michael Day will be your sixth place finisher. Mitchell Bright seventh. Tevin Capwell eighth. Michael Green ninth. And Chuma Ona Bogu will be your 10th place finisher. Well, I was expecting a little bit more out of those top three than we ended up getting. I tell you what, I thought Browning had him for a bit, and then Fialo was able to get back around him and pretty much say goodbye on that last lap.
And maybe Dion was sandbagging there a little bit, at the start of the race, and we can certainly pull him up here and ask him about it. But I for sure thought Squirek was going to hang with them, but that pit stop seemed to be a little bit too much of an obstacle for him to overcome, and he was never quite fully able to get back up to that lead pack. But let's see, I'm looking down here in the driver's channel, see if we can yoink somebody up here for a post-race interview.
Whoa, there goes Ryan Flannery.
Let's see if we can get Dion up here.
The last lap is the most painful. We'll get Flannery finished here, I believe.
Dion in the broadcast booth, how's it going?
It's going pretty well after a win.
Hey, yeah, congratulations. Great run there. It looked like you were having trouble staying around Don Squirek, and then after the pit stops, it seemed like you pretty much had control of the race. How did that work? Were you just holding back on him, or waiting for that pit stop, or what was the difference?
It's we're all kind of holding back on each other. The first half of the race, we all kind of went with the same strategy to save fuel. So it was more so like who blinked first, and Don blinked first, and try to break away a little bit and use more fuel. That's why me and Jake were able to have so much faster pit stops, because we had quite a bit of fuel left over.
All right. Well, any close calls, any scary moments? Looks like the three of y'all got in front, and really traffic was next to nothing as far as any lappers. Anything? Any close calls?
There was one or two just under braking into the bus stop. But if you don't brake right, the McLaren gets really loose, and so yeah, just had to be a little bit careful. But beyond that, no, everything went just the way I planned, so that worked out really well.
So, do you like racing, doing the night races here, or is daylight more your liking?
It doesn't really make a difference. I think car versus car, the colder track and temps help the BMW. If it was, a hot Florida day, the extra heat would have really hurt the BMW more than the McLaren. So it made it a lot easier for the BMWs to stay with me on the infield. But they just had so much top speed that I had to be really careful not to make a mistake.
Well, very impressive run, and we are congratulate you again on your win, Dion, and we'll look forward to seeing you at our next race.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So there's race winner Dion Fiallo, and again, I mean, what can you say?
Yeah.
He just got in front, and there he was.
Let's see if we can get Don up here, see if we can find out what happened there after that pit stop. Don in the broadcast booth with Bill and Will. How's it going?
Hey there.
Hey, Don, looks like you were able to pass at will before the pit stops, and then what was the difference afterward?
Yeah, it was mostly kind of just fuel saving there, but I felt a bit comfortable out in front. Unfortunately, after my issue at Suzuka where I was sputtering across the line, I did not want to sputter across the line here, so I ended up being a bit conservative with how much fuel I put in there and had a whole extra lap. And that dropped me about 2 seconds off from...
How does that work? You had a lap extra. I mean, you had a lap on the fresh tires more than Dion or Jake. Yet
that was Dion who stayed out an extra lap.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
Let me rephrase that. You had a lap less on fresh tires. So was that what made the difference, or was it just a timing? It looked like you had maybe a little trouble getting onto pit road as well. We saw Jake
it was
had
a bit of a miscalculation on how much fuel I put in there, as well as not wanting to run into Jake going into the pit lane, so I got a little bit slow into the box, and I think that's where I lost my time. And Dion and Jake kind of hooked up after the stop, and there's one car versus two cars isn't going to happen here.
Well, now with these cars, how close do you have to be to start to feel the draft, to start to pick it up where you could close in?
0.7, 0.8, somewhere around there.
I was going to say it was something less than the 2 seconds that you had, obviously.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh man. So that was a tough break there. Then that was kind of races are won and lost in the pits, as they say, and it seems like that might have been the case here today. All right. Well, still, your third place finish. You're on the podium, Don.
Yeah, not a bad day.
And still have a commanding lead in the series, so that's good too.
Yep. Win-win third. You can do that. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. We look forward to seeing you next time, and we thank you for coming up and talking to us for a couple minutes.
Thank you.
Great. That's your third place finisher, Don Squarick. And
yeah, it looks like that might be all we have. Actually, you know what? Let's get Ryan up here, because it looks like second place Jake Browning declined the offer to come up here and talk with us. So let's see if we can get Ryan up here, make sure he's not in the middle of telling an inappropriate story. Ryan Flannery in the broadcast booth. How's it going? He could be taking his bathroom break.
So if he took his headset off before he went.
Not like me with the wireless headset. Sometimes I forget to hit the mute button on the back side of the headset.
Again, your top five were Dion Fiallo, Jake Browning, Don Squarick, and Ryan Flannery and Zach Holden. Second five would be Michael Day, Tevin Capwell, Michael Green, Mitchell Bright, and Chuma Onobogu. And then bringing up the rest of the field will be Corbin Mitchell, Brant Estes, Matt Laster, David Sintel, and 15th is Stephen McGuire.
Let's see if maybe we can get Zach Holden up here. I feel like I want to talk to one more person before we cut this broadcast. Zach, you in the broadcast booth with Bill and Will. How's it going?
Pretty good. How about y'all?
Doing all right. That was a pretty impressive finish there tonight. 5th place.
Thank you.
My math serves me correctly. That should, with Brant having the issues that he did, should put you square into second place right now. Let me see if I can pull these up real quick. Any strategies? Any game plan tonight? I'm used to Bill leading these interviews. I just kind of.
I was just what's Will going to say next, and then all of a sudden
Well,
I think after the contact on the start, I had damage. It was worth about a second per lap, so I was just trying to stay as consistent as possible, to stay with the pack and wait for my pit cycle or pit window.
I was going to say, when did you pit then, if that's the case? I guess sooner would have been better in your case.
Yeah, it really would have, but I was making sure I was going to find the right pit window to be able to make it to the end of the race.
Okay, I was looking to see if I had the. Oh yeah, I see now. You actually pitted on lap 13. You were a little ahead of some of the others, but nothing conspicuous for sure. But I tell you, any other than that, and that was just contact going in to the first corner.
Yeah, I think the driver to my left didn't have anywhere to go and came up across the track.
Any other close calls besides that? I mean, it was close enough, I suppose.
No, that was it. And then I got lucky at the end with Michael spinning in the bus stop. I was able to take that 5th spot.
Yeah, there was a lot of. We were watching a lot of that action in the mid pack. It was pretty fun to watch between you, Ryan, and Michael. Some good back and forth from Friend Motorsports.
Yeah, it was a good battle until the damage, started costing me on the straights, and I fell back a little bit.
Yeah, this is not a place where you want to have aero damage.
Yeah, not at all.
Because so much of your lap is spent on the super speedway portion, of this road course.
Well, is any strategy going into next week at Brands Hatch?
I'm not sure. I know there's going to be a major update, possibly a new car, and all the aero and whatnot is being changed for these cars. So hopefully, maybe the Ferrari will be a little bit better. We'll just have to see.
Well, that's always a fun wild card when the game decides to update mid-season.
Well, it's just like NASCAR does. I mean, they change the rules just on a whim, and there you go. So I guess iRacing can do that as well. Well, Zach, we appreciate you dropping in and talking to us, and congratulations on a 5th place finish despite some early race adversity.
Thank you.
I guess it really worked out pretty well, well as it could be expected, given what happened. So good. Congratulations. We'll see you next week at Brands Hatch.
Awesome. Thank you.
All righty. Well, that ought to wrap it up for us here from the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway. Again, your winner, Dion Fiallo, holding off Jake Browning, and Don Squirick, as he explained, had a little bit of misfortune or miscalculation in his pit stop that separated him just enough where he couldn't catch back up and get sight of those front two. So next week, Brands Hatch, we're going to have to get dust our passports off again.
Well, this is an international season here, Bill, so this was
absolutely
one of the few races we had planned stateside. We were heading back overseas next week, and we were running the full course this time too, because as y'all remember in season 2 in the Skippies, we ran the short course at Brands Hatch, the Indy circuit. So this will be a fun change up for the guys. We recently did it in the Legends cars full circuit a couple months ago in one of our community nights, and that was a blast. So it'll be interesting to see what our drivers do with the much faster GT4 cars next Wednesday. All
right. Well, again, that'll do it here from Daytona. Next week at Brands Hatch, please join us. And for my sidekick and producer, director, and chief cook and bottle washer, Will Rigdon, I am Bill Rigdon, wishing you a pleasant evening and thanking you for joining us for round 4 in the 4th season of the Atlanta Motorsports Park eSeries. See you next week from Brands Hatch. Good night, everybody.